We are learning more and more about the brutal Hamas attack on the people of Israel that took place October the 7th. Our next guest story is nothing short of a true miracle. Dr. Yftach Gepner's village near the Gaza Strip came under attack in the early morning hours by Hamas. And it was the courageous residents of his small community's defense unit that repelled the terrorist and kept his entire village from being slaughtered. They were protected with only 4 M16 rifles, and most importantly, the grace of God. Now, a warning, this story is not for the faint of heart. We're so very thankful to have him here. I want you to welcome Dr. Gepner and his 2 daughters, Ruth and Ella. Please give them a nice welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Dr. Gepner, I want to begin. Tell us when you first realized something was going on. It was the early morning hours of Saturday, a Sabbath. And so normally on Shabbat, everything is quiet and calm. That wasn't calm that morning.
It wasn't calm. It was supposed to be a very peaceful Saturday morning. People go jogging, people have a breakfast at home. At 6:30, a massive rocket attack started. And we realized in the first few seconds something big is going on. We start hearing shooting in addition to the rockets. And the head of security in the village we live in, and absorb, recognized it's something different and asked people to go to defense the gate. There was a front gate and back gate, and go to the fence to make sure nobody of the Hamas can come into the village. My brother was the only one with the M16 in the front gate. And about 7:55, he literally was fighting with a 20 Hamas terrorist by himself with the 1 M16.
He is the only person who has a rifle, an M16. 20 terrorists are trying to overpower and get through that gate. I mean, I can't imagine the anxiety, the sheer terror of your brother at that moment. So what happened then?
So they came to the front gate, he stopped them, he got shot in his shoulder. He gave me a call. I was in the other side of the fence of the village with a stone in my head. I didn't have a weapon with me that morning.
A stone, that's it. That's your only weapon.
We have to defend the village
with
whatever we have. He gave me a call to rescue him to the hospital. I'm a professor in the Faculty of Medicine, and I realized there was a bullet coming in without going out. It can be anywhere in the body. So I took him from the back gate to the hospital. When we came from the off-road to the main road to the hospital, I looked to the left. That was clear, but when we turned on the road to the right, we saw in front of ourselves about 30 Hamas terrorists with a machine gun and a massive shooting on the car. My brother got shot again in his belly and his hip. And 2 of those motorcycles was trying to catch us. We were driving reverse, like back road, while they're trying to kill us. Luckily, we'll be able to manage and to escape from them.
I've seen pictures of the bullet holes in the car you were driving. It's a miracle you weren't shot as well. It's also a miracle, I think there was a bullet that missed your brother's head by a couple of inches.
Right. There was a sniper that tried to hit my brother's head, and the bullet was like literally touched his hair. And thanks God, he's alive. Like the bullet, just to realize how God was there to protect us. One of the bullets that hit his hip was so close to the bladder. If the bladder was made with a hole, it wouldn't be with us. It was so close that the bullet from the hit melted the fascia of the bladder in a way that the leak was so small that he still make it.
I mean, medically, you're a doctor. So what you're saying is that medically, that was nothing less than a miracle.
It is a miracle. It is.
Now, all this is absolutely, thank God. How is your brother doing?
It was tough 3 weeks in the beginning. Recover, to heal. He did a surgery, not an easy one. And thanks God, he's well now. He's back in the village, and he's going to be fine.
I'm glad he's going to have a full recovery and some harrowing stories to tell from it. I want to talk to you, Ruth and Ella, and get your perspective. Ruth, Tell me, what was happening with you guys when your dad is out trying to get your uncle to the hospital? Where were you, and what was happening?
So we were in the mamad, in the safety room, where we go when we hear rockets and the red alert.
Let me stop just a moment. A lot of Americans don't understand. Every Israeli home has to have a safety room. We're not used to being attacked all the time, so we don't think in these terms. But every Israeli has to have a safe room where you can rush to if bombs are coming at you, or in this case, terrorists. But it's normally rockets coming in. But this time, it's different. So you go to the safe room, then what happens?
So we get in the safety room, and we basically just wait for the rockets to stop. But this time it was not, well, rockets were being sent more than usual, but we didn't know that terrorists were actually coming in too. And the safety room isn't really built for like an emergency when like terrorists come in. So that's a reason why a lot of people got hurt or murdered, or that's why.
You knew some of the people who were murdered that
Yes.
day. Who were some of the people that you knew that didn't live through that day?
I have a very good friend, the closest one. His name is Carmel. He died along with his mother that day.
I can't imagine. You're a teenager. You're not supposed to experience things like that. And it's hard for me to get my arms and heart around what you have experienced, the trauma that you have had happen to your young life. And all I can do is pray that God will bring as much a healing to your soul and your spirit as he did to your uncle's body. Because I worry sometimes about the wounds we don't see, even more than the ones we can fix. You'd been in the safe room before when rockets hit.
Yes.
This was different because it was longer. Ella, this time, you were there for how long in the safety room?
We were there for like, I think 17 hours.
17 hours?
Yeah.
Now that's a tiny little room, right? Mm-hmm. Like almost a closet or something.
Yeah.
Were you just terrified that whole time?
Yeah, it was really scary because like we didn't know what to expect or what was like going to happen.
And when did you see your dad during that time? How long was it before he could get back?
After like, I think 2 weeks I saw him.
2 weeks? I can't imagine.
Just to give you an example, only a few hours after my brother was okay in the hospital, I realized my family, my wife and my 3 kids are in the safe room. I didn't know if the Hamas can get into the Moshav, if they are safe. They didn't know how am I. They knew the car was full of bullets and blood, and they were terrifying.
So they didn't know if you were okay. You didn't know if they were okay. And I'm sure all the communication issues were totally collapsed with all of this going on. So it wasn't like you just grab your cell phone and make a call. So when were you finally comforted that your daughters were okay?
Only a few hours after I left them, I was able to give them a call. I left my home with the short pants, with the shoes without the socks. Immediately after it started. And only a few hours later, I just gave him a call. And you said that God was with us. There was a miracle. My brother, that was the only one with the M16 in the front gate, closed the gate 2 minutes before they came. 2 minutes separate Ein Absur from being second Be'eri or New Wars that totally got destroyed.
Dr. Gepner, what would have happened had that gate not been closed?
People went through hell. We live in a paradise in normal days.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in Denver for a while, we lived in Orlando for a while. My kids here never walk by themselves on their own. In the place where we live, kids do that. Kids walk on their own. But it all changed on that Saturday morning. I've been in places that totally got burned. Teenage got raped, one after the other. They murder infants, they murder Holocaust survivors. They have zero mercy. Any liberal person cannot support their side. The inhumanities of the pure hate that people that cross the border, the international border, to other country, to do such inhumanity things.
Yeah.
I hope for them that they will be able to recover.
And I think we all hope for Ruth, for Ella, and for the hundreds of thousands of Israelis whose lives will never be the same because of what happened on October 7th. I want to go to the point of, since that time, as you try to find out who made it and who didn't, and that has to be one of the most heart-wrenching things, to find out that some of your friends didn't make it. I asked this of Ruth. Ella, did you have some friends or others in your life, teachers or others, that you have since discovered were either taken hostage or were murdered?
Yeah, so there is 3 people in my grade that got kidnapped, and 1 was murdered. Yeah, it was like close only to 1 of them. And now he's back. All 3 of them are back, which that is good. And yeah.
I'm so grateful that they were able to be back, those that made it back. But, you know, when I think about, had there not been some, even just the M16s, you weren't like you were heavily armed. If you hadn't have been able to show some resistance, they would have probably just kept coming.
That's what happened in Absor. We're not brave than other villages. We're not braver due to heroic things we've done. We've been very lucky. We had many miracles that avoiding an Absor for being other villages that got totally looted and destroyed. And thanks to the resistance, the coincidentally resistance in An Absor, we saved. And we will be prepared for next time. And we don't focus on what not happened at that date.
Yeah.
We look at the future. We fully support the IDF. We fully support the Ministry of Defense to do whatever they need to make our place safer and stronger than what it was. Because the goal of this war is to make those villages and the civilians stronger for a better future.
Dr. Gepner, yeah, absolutely is what we pray will happen. When I think about the Jews have been chased around the world, the Holocaust we thought was the last time that we would ever see this kind of hatred and animosity and intent to annihilate Jews. I'm a Christian, but I want the world to know I stand with Israel. I stand with my Jewish friends. I will not stand apart from them, but with them, and will not ever stand alone and let you guys be out there without knowing we're praying for you and we will help you. Don't ever want you to go through that again. Girls, I hope you, when you grow up, will raise wonderful families, and your children and one day your grandchildren will be able to know that they have their lives because God, for reasons unto himself, blessed you that day, let you live through that horror, and that you will give them the gift of life in a way that the Holocaust survivors who came to Israel gave their families and gave them hope and gave them courage. But we should never see that happen again. And I pray that Israel destroys Hamas, not just pushes it back, but destroys it. There cannot be toleration of what they did. And I get so angry, Dr. Gepner, when I hear people say, well, Hamas and Israel. No, this is good versus evil. There is no both sides nonsense to this.
Absolutely.
And just know that I think the overwhelming majority of Americans will never, ever leave your side and abandon you. Thank you, and God bless you. We're honored to have you here tonight to tell your story. Thank you.
You mentioned the amazing support of Christian,
Yeah.
and I would like just to emphasize the outstanding support that we're having from Christian, that coming over with the boots on the ground, that gave us strength, gave us hope, and willing to help, like City Serve and other organizations did, that come with a pure will and gave us whatever we need to went through this such a difficult times and to make Israel stronger than what it was.
Well, I'm going to be in Israel just before Christmas for a short couple of days, mainly to say, in person, we stand with you and show our solidarity. And maybe I'll see you when I'm there, but I want to say thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
The people of Israel are still fighting Hamas, and many Israelis in these villages are in need of housing because they've had to depart from where they were in their villages. Would you please continue to pray for them? And I hope you'll consider supporting the various agencies that are working right now in Israel, and specifically in Dr. Gepner's community. If you want to help, if you go to huckabee.tv, we will connect you to the organizations that are trying to help, especially with housing.